The spring and autumn period, spanning from 771 to 476 BCE, represents one of the most turbulent yet culturally transformative eras in ancient Chinese history. Initiated by the decline of the Western Zhou dynasty following the sack of its capital, the era saw the Zhou kings lose their actual political and military authority, degenerating into mere ritual figureheads. In this power vacuum, the Chinese landscape fractured into hundreds of small, semi-independent states constantly vying for dominance. This intense geopolitical rivalry gave rise to the system of the five hegemons, powerful regional rulers who assumed the responsibility of maintaining order and defending the Zhou domain from external threats, though often driven by their own expansionist ambitions. Despite the relentless warfare and shifting alliances that characterized daily political life, this period was far from a dark age. The pressures of conflict accelerated iron metallurgy, which revolutionized both weaponry and agriculture, leading to significant population growth and economic expansion. More importantly, the social upheaval sparked an unprecedented intellectual awakening, known as the 100 Schools of Thought. It was during this vibrant era of philosophical debate that legendary thinkers like Confucius and Lao Tzu emerged, formulating the core tenets of Confucianism and Taoism. Their profound insights into governance, morality, and human nature not only shaped the cultural bedrock of China, but also laid the intellectual groundwork that would guide the civilization through the subsequent warring states period and into the imperial age. Following the intense political and intellectual ferment of the spring and autumn period, China naturally transitioned into the even more chaotic and decisive warring states period, which lasted from 475 to 221 BCE. As the hundreds of smaller states were gradually swallowed up through centuries of relentless warfare, only 7 powerful kingdoms survived to contest for ultimate control over the known world. This era saw the total breakdown of old aristocratic chivalry, replaced by total warfare, massive conscript armies, and the widespread use of crossbows and iron weapons. The intellectual debates of the previous era crystallized into practical statecraft, as rulers eagerly adopted legalist philosophies to centralize their power, maximize agricultural output, and build unstoppable military machines. Among these competing states, the Kingdom of Qin, located in the western frontier, implemented the most radical and efficient administrative reforms under the guidance of Shang Yang. Through absolute discipline, merit-based military promotion, and a ruthless focus on total war, Qin systematically defeated its rivals one by one. This brutal era of division finally came to an end when Qin Shi Huang conquered the last remaining state, unifying China for the very first time and establishing the Qin dynasty. This monumental triumph brought a definitive close to centuries of ancient feudal strife and birthed the imperial system that would govern China for the next 2 millennia. With the rise of the Qin dynasty, China entered a breathtakingly ambitious, yet brutally short-lived imperial era. Emperor Qin Shi Huang immediately set out to erase the divisions of the past by standardizing the Chinese script, currency, weights, and measures, while also linking existing northern walls to construct the precursor to the Great Wall. However, his regime's harsh legalist rule and exhausting labor demands sparked widespread rebellion almost immediately after his death. This chaos paved the way for the rise of the Han Dynasty, 202 BCE to 220 CE, which brilliantly blended Qin's centralized administrative structure with a revived, gentler Confucian philosophy, creating a golden age of stability. Under the Han, China expanded its borders into Central Asia, opened the lucrative Silk Road trading network to the west, and witnessed the invention of paper. Yet history proved cyclical. After 4 centuries of prosperity, internal corruption, peasant uprisings, and the rise of powerful regional warlords tore the empire apart, plunging China into the legendary Three Kingdoms period. This fractured era, defined by the rival states of Wei, Shu, and Wu, became immortalized in cultural lore for its brilliant military strategists, epic battles, and shifting alliances, proving that even as dynasties collapsed, the foundational cultural and political identity forged centuries earlier would endure through the ages. Following the dramatic collapse of the Three Kingdoms, China entered a long, fractured era of division and nomadic invasions known as the Northern and Southern dynasties, which lasted until the country was finally reunified under the short-lived Sui dynasty in 581 CE. The Sui laid the vital groundwork for China's second great golden age, the Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 CE. Renowned as one of the most cosmopolitan and culturally brilliant periods in global history, the Tang Empire expanded deep into Central Asia, welcoming foreign merchants, monks, and diplomats along a bustling Silk Road. This was an era of unparalleled artistic achievement, producing China's greatest poets, Li Bai and Du Fu, alongside major advancements in woodblock printing and gunpowder. However, internal rebellions eventually weakened the central government, leading to another brief period of fragmentation before the Song dynasty, 960 to 1279 CE, restored order. While the Song faced constant military pressure from northern nomadic neighbors, it catalyzed an economic and technological revolution within its borders. The widespread use of paper money, the perfection of the compass for maritime trade, and the institutionalization of the rigorous imperial examination system created a highly sophisticated, urbanized society. This flourishing civilization was ultimately disrupted by the unstoppable rise of the Mongol Empire. Kublai Khan conquered the Song and established the Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368 CE, marking the first time the entirety of China was ruled by a foreign power, and integrating the empire into a vast Eurasian trade network that fascinated Western travelers like Marco Polo. The Mongol-led Yuan dynasty eventually buckled under the weight of economic inflation, devastating floods, and intense ethnic friction, igniting a wave of peasant rebellions that culminated in the rise of the Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644. Founded by a charismatic rebel leader, the Ming restored native Han rule and embarked on an era of immense architectural and naval ambition, famously constructing the Forbidden City in Beijing and launching Admiral Zheng He's treasure fleets across the Indian Ocean. This period also saw the zenith of classical Chinese literature. Yet over time, the empire grew insular, plagued by fiscal crises and court corruption. Seizing on this vulnerability, the Manchu people from the northeast swept south, conquering Beijing and establishing the Qing dynasty, 1636 to 1912. As China's final imperial dynasty, the Qing initially presided over a massive territorial expansion and unparalleled prosperity under rulers like the Kangxi and Qianlong emperors. However, by the 19th century, the empire struggled to adapt to the rapid industrialization of the West, leading to disastrous defeats in the Opium Wars, crippling unequal treaties, and devastating internal conflicts like the Taiping Rebellion. These decades of humiliation and economic ruin eroded the concept of the mandate of heaven, culminating in the Xinhai Revolution of 1911. The subsequent abdication of the last emperor in early 1912 brought a shattering, definitive end to over 2,000 years of imperial rule, thrusting China into a turbulent new chapter as a modern republic. Following the dramatic collapse of the imperial system, the newly born Republic of China immediately plunged into a turbulent era dominated by rival warlords, fractured political factions, and severe economic instability. This fragility was further compounded by a bitter, decades-long civil war between the nationalist government, Kuomintang, and the rising Chinese Communist Party, CCP, a conflict that was temporarily paused but deeply scarred by the brutal Japanese invasion during World War II. In the aftermath of global conflict, the Civil War resumed, culminating in 1949 with the victory of the CCP under Mao Zedong, who proclaimed the founding of the People's Republic of China, PRC, on the mainland, while the nationalist government retreated to Taiwan. The early decades of the PRC were defined by radical socialist transformation and cataclysmic political campaigns, most notably the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, which caused immense social upheaval and economic devastation. However, following Mao's death, the late 1970s ushered in a pivotal turning point under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, who introduced the historic reform and opening up policy. By embracing market-oriented economic reforms while maintaining strict political control, China unlocked unprecedented growth, rapidly transitioning from an impoverished agrarian nation into a global manufacturing powerhouse and the world's second largest economy. Entering the 21st century, China solidified its status as a leading superpower, projecting its influence through massive global infrastructure projects like the Belt and Road Initiative, taking a dominant role in advanced technology and green energy, and asserting its geopolitical presence on the world stage, thereby writing a complex and formidable new chapter in its long cyclical history. As the third decade of the 21st century progressed, China entered a new era of great power diplomacy and domestic consolidation under the centralized leadership of Xi Jinping. This period saw the nation transition away from the era of rapid double-digit GDP growth toward a focus on high-quality development, aiming to navigate structural economic challenges such as an aging population, a cooling real estate sector, and the middle income trap. Driven by the strategic blueprint of Made in China 2025 and subsequent initiatives, the country successfully positioned itself at the absolute forefront of the global green transition and artificial intelligence revolution, dominating the world markets in electric vehicles, lithium batteries, and advanced telecommunications. On the global stage, Beijing sought to reshape the international order by strengthening the BRICS bloc and positioning itself as a pragmatic mediator in major international conflicts, including peace diplomacy in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. However, this rapid rise also fueled intensifying strategic competition with the United States and its allies, leading to complex trade disputes, technological decoupling, and heightened geopolitical friction over regional security and the status of Taiwan. By 2026, navigating this delicate balance between domestic economic transformation and a highly volatile international environment remained the central challenge for the Chinese leadership, as the nation continued to march toward its stated goal of full national rejuvenation, proving that the ancient civilization's capacity for adaptation and resilience remains as potent today as it was over 2 millennia ago. Looking ahead into the remainder of the 2020s and toward the mid-century mark, China's trajectory is shaped by its ambitious dual-step strategy for national rejuvenation, which aims to achieve basic socialist modernization by 2035 and transform the nation into a fully developed, leading global power by 2049, the centenary of the People's Republic. To realize this vision, the country is actively pivoting its economy toward new quality productive forces, heavily investing in quantum computing, deep space exploration, and advanced biotechnology to achieve complete technological self-reliance. This domestic transformation is closely mirrored by an increasingly assertive foreign policy that champions a multipolar world order, offering alternative global governance frameworks to the global South through expanded digital and green Silk Road networks. Yet the path forward remains a complex balancing act as society simultaneously adapts to profound demographic shifts and the long-term goals of achieving peak carbon emissions and ultimate carbon neutrality. From the fragmented battlefields of the spring and autumn period to the high-tech, interconnected global arena of the mid-21st century, China's historical journey comes full circle, demonstrating an enduring civilizational resilience that continuously reshapes both its own destiny and the broader course of human history. As this civilizational journey stretches into the further horizons of the 21st century, China's future is increasingly defined by how it manages the profound responsibilities of its superpower status. The nation is progressively shifting its focus toward systemic sustainability, striving to harmonize its immense industrial capability with groundbreaking environmental stewardship to build what it terms an ecological civilization. This era marks a critical transition, where the traditional metrics of raw economic expansion are replaced by quality of life advancements, urban-rural integration, and the sophisticated deployment of automation to sustain productivity amidst an aging demographic. In the global arena, the interdependency between China and the rest of the world has reached an unprecedented depth, making its domestic stability, financial health, and technological breakthroughs vital components of global security and prosperity. Ultimately, the story of China remains an active, evolving epic. Just as the philosophical debates of the spring and autumn period laid the foundational blueprint for the imperial age, the strategic decisions, cultural resilience, and systemic adaptations made today are actively forging the template for its next millennium on the global stage. Looking even deeper into the distant future, the evolutionary arc of this ancient civilization begins to transcend the traditional boundaries of the nation-state, positioning China as a foundational pillar of an increasingly interconnected global future. The profound philosophical concepts first articulated during the spring and autumn period, such as Tian Sha, or all under heaven, and the pursuit of harmony within diversity, are being reimagined to navigate the complexities of a highly automated post-industrial world. As humanity grapples with existential collective challenges, from the governance of superintelligent systems to the management of planetary biospheres, China's synthesis of deeply rooted cultural heritage and cutting-edge technocratic governance offers a distinct framework for societal organization. Whether pioneering the outer frontiers of space exploration, establishing permanent lunar bases, or anchoring the stability of global networks, the civilization continues to reinvent itself without losing its core identity. This unbroken continuity, stretching from the dawn of recorded history into the uncharted centuries ahead, stands as a testament to an enduring truth: that the story of China is not merely a chronicle of past dynasties or modern milestones, but a living, breathing continuum that will forever help shape the destiny of humankind. As this living continuum flows into the deep future, the timeless wisdom of the past and the vanguard of human progress completely merge, guiding the civilization toward unprecedented frontiers. The ancient pursuit of balance and self-cultivation, which once echoed along the Yellow River thousands of years ago, now inspires a society dedicated to balancing hyper-technological mastery with the preservation of human essence. In this far-off era, the distinctions between ancient tradition and far-future innovation blur into a harmonious reality, where mega engineering projects on Earth and orbital habitats in the cosmos are guided by a profound generational reverence for heritage. As generations yet unborn look back at the grand lineage of their history, from the foundational struggles of the spring and autumn period, through the rise and fall of vast empires, to the triumphs of the modern and postmodern ages, they find a narrative of unparalleled endurance. China's epic endures not as a static monument to antiquity, but as a dynamic, ever-unfolding journey, proving that as long as humanity ventures into the unknown, this enduring civilization will remain a vital, brilliant beacon, helping to chart the course of tomorrow.